Hey, I'm just saying, I'm back. Technical glitches. You know how technology is. This is Betty. And it's been a long time. I've been off the scene for about 6 years. And I had some dear friends, Orvin Helton and others, who said, Betty, we want to hear your voice again. And so I'm back. I'm back in a new digital format, trying to learn what to do. I'm tweeting and I'm blogging and all of that. In fact, I hope you will come to my YouTubes every Monday and Wednesdays at 3 when we technically can get it together. And then my blog on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll be talking about this and that, but as was true for my column that I did for the Courier Journal with more than 20 years, if you're interested in hearing a lot of black pathology, this is probably not the place where you want to hang out, because I really want to talk about politics, but I also want to talk about black creativity and black love and families and a lot of the things that I wrote about when I had my column and that many of you enjoyed, because the stereotypes about black people disturbed me. It disturbs me that people know more that's negative about us than positive, and that even a lot of us don't know what our beautiful history is, and so we hate ourselves. And I wrote a column several years ago, and the column was talking about the goodness, the values that I grew up learning about, and I grew up hearing that black people were. For example, I was raised to believe that black people did not commit suicide, that black people were not serial killers, that black people did not kill our parents. And I believed that. And when the editor was editing my column about all these wonderful things, that I was saying that the black people that I knew, that's the way we lived in our world, he put a headline on my column that said the mythology of goodness. Well, I don't know if it was a myth or whatever, but if it was a myth, it was a myth that we operated on. Sadly, we've come to a time when it is true that there are African American serial killers, there are African Americans who kill their parents, there are African Americans who commit suicide. And I think a lot of the things that are going on now is because it is stressful being black. Being black is a stressful lifestyle. And I often think about, even if Barack Obama, who rose to the highest heights as the President of the United States, was still treated in a way as if he was a runaway slave almost, and people called his wife an ape. And so it doesn't matter how much education we have, how many big fine houses we have. When we are out in public, we are vulnerable, and it's stressful. It's stressful to have to take your little babies and teach them that somebody may call you a name, that our kids can't just go to school to learn. They have to go to school and deal with all the stereotypes that people think about them. No group defines themselves by the worst among them, and yet we get that. And I was listening to Dave Chappelle, who's going to be coming back on Netflix, in fact, and I think that, comedians tend to be profound, whether it's Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle, a lot of the African-American comedians that we love. And Dave knows the beauty of black people, and that we need to know the beauty of us and the things that we create that everybody copies. We lost Chuck Berry this week, and people were acting like, he wasn't the father of rock and roll. Indeed, he was, along with Little Richard. And the reason why you know how good he was is because everybody stole his music. And it took the Brits to come here to tell us about our own music, because the British artists, the Rolling Stones and some of the others, appreciated African American artists and jazz musicians and other people more than we did. So we need to learn to understand, first of all, what we created, and then learn to love it, and then learn to love it and to teach it to other people. And when I think about the value system, I know that I came up in the projects in East Harlem and the Lower East Side and the tenement buildings, and I know that there is beauty there. And I know that you can go down the raggediest block in Louisville or any city, and you will see that one house where there's a flower garden. There's somebody out there with a flower pot, because there are people who still operate on the old values. And we need to teach those values. And we need to love ourselves more and stop absorbing everything that's worst about us. I write about my family. I talk about my family, my parents, a lot, because I think that my family is more representative of Black Americans than not. These are very tough times, but we've been through tough times before. And I want to talk about that. I want to remind us every chance I get to say, look, we write the songs, we write the books, we wrote the things. The whole world marvels at all that we have been through as African Americans, how we can still smile, how we can still create, how we can still love in the midst of all the hate that comes to us, that we are still capable of loving and forgiving. And I don't know why God made us so black and blue, why we were the ones who suffered, and yet we have to teach the people love. It wasn't just Dr. King that thought about the mountaintops. We come from parents and grandparents who went to the mountaintop and told us, come on, baby, look over to the other side. And so I want to use my blog and my YouTube things, my YouTube postings, just to let you know, just to remind you that as bad as it seems, it was harder for our grandparents. I'll never forget the day I was sitting up in the newspaper complaining about how hard I was working. And my colleague, Len Proctor, looked at me and said, is it harder than picking cotton? And then I thought about the ancestors out there in the sun, picking cotton, sun beating down on their backs and being beaten. I thought about the slaves, and I thought, you know what? I stand on their shoulders. And because of them, I can sit in an office, I can write, and I can speak, and I can talk. And we all have stories to tell. And I want to hear your stories. I want you to tell me about them. I want you to send me your comments. Send me some of the things you think I ought to be talking about. I don't know it all. And that's why my blog and my YouTube is called I'm Just Saying. I'm not just saying that it's right. I'm not saying that you have to see it my way. But I'm saying that we need to celebrate ourselves more. And we need to engage more with other people. And we need to let them know who we are. That's the point. As until we start telling our own stories, other people will tell it. That's why they call it history. It is his story. Well, we need to make it our story and my story. And so when you come to look at me on YouTube or to read my blog, I'm going to be celebrating Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. I'm going to be celebrating Dave Chappelle and Richard Pryor and Red Fox. All of the legends. I want to teach the young people what they don't know. I want to tell them about Miles Davis and Quincy Jones and Charlie Mingus and Dexter Gordon. I want them to know who we are, that we are so beautiful. We don't have to be pathological. We don't have to cut and kill each other. Now, there's always going to be some of that, but that should not ever define who we are totally, that we are just this negative composite. And the way you can measure to see how it is see what people take from us. Every time I hear Sam Cooke sing, and every time I think about Otis Redding, every time I think about all that culture and all that beauty that other people all around the world are stealing, are copying, are studying, and we don't even know our own music. When Muddy Waters was singing the blues, do you know there were more white people listening to the blues than we were, because we didn't want to be blue. But Muddy Waters, all of those people contributed to our history. And your grandparents, the people who won't have any names, they will be nameless. And yet we stand on their shoulders. So it's not just when we hear the big names, Dr. King and Malcolm X and the others, because they all sprang from somebody. And many of our greatest heroes are people we will never know their names. But I know that I stand on the shoulders of Fannie Lou Hamer and Joyce Ladner and Ralph Featherstone and Che Payne and James Foreman and all the people that I work with in SNCC. I know that I learned from the preachers that I work with, from Leon Sullivan to my current pastor, the Reverend Kevin Cosby, here in Louisville. The fact of the matter is that if you don't know who you are, somebody will tell you who you are. They will define you. And I want to define myself. And I want to use my space, my columns, my YouTubes to let us tell our stories the way they need to be told. And yes, we need to support everybody, all the other movements, but understand that everybody stands on our backs. We taught people how to march. We taught people how to suffer and yet sing. We taught people how it feels to be free, even if it was only for a little while. When Nina Simone said to be young, gifted, and black, a lot of us in the 60s, we took that message. And I think about Amiri Baraka and Larry Neal. And if you don't know these names, go somewhere, Google them, look them up. These are the people that I look up to, the people that I learn from. So I ask you to please support me in my new venture as I try to do this new media thing. And every now and then there may be some glitches, but you know how that is. But I'm going to keep on talking, and I'm going to keep on walking, and I'm going to keep on blogging, and I'm going to keep on doing this YouTube with these young brothers teaching me how to do the new media. So look for me on my YouTube every Monday and Wednesday at 3. And then read my blogs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Well, I'll be talking about this and that. And send me your ideas. So thanks for checking out my first episode. And believe me, it's going to get better. See you now. But I'm just saying.